All right. Well, welcome everybody to the U.S. Term Limits Facebook live stream. Let me bring you guys into the picture here. Let me get our names up there. How you gentlemen doing today?
Doing well. How's everybody out there? We're going to get a little bit of feedback real fast. So
the other thing is I got to notice that the bandwidth might be a little busy on this today. So if for some reason we break up, it's because there's a lot of people right now on the internet. So we'll give it our best shot. And we want to thank everybody out there on Facebook that's joined us. We've got people chiming in already. Awesome. That's what we want to see. We want to get some feedback from you today. And we're going to be spending the next, 30, 40 minutes talking about some upcoming events that we're hopefully all will be participating in. But gentlemen, why don't I start by showing the map that we like to oh, you know what? Give me a second. I've got to import my screen. There we go. Let me highlight this.
We're starting to get some interesting comments that are already going. So I'm going to be really excited to starting addressing some of those.
Okay, good. That's what we want.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see to address some of these, Quinn. So you'll have to take a look at those. Ron?
Okay, so everyone, what we'll do, I'm kind of behind the scenes here trying to look at the questions, and this is what we want to do. So first of all, I'm Ken Quinn. I'm the regional director in the North region. That's that red section. Ken, why don't you introduce yourself, and then Ron?
My name's Ken Clark. I'm the regional director for the blue states you see down there in the South, from Texas up to Illinois, over to Virginia, down to Florida. And so those are the states that I am in charge of. And it's a huge honor and privilege to be able to do it. But that's a lot of states. It's 16 states. So I need all the help I can get. I would ask that you use my email address, kclark@termlimits.com. Get in touch with me. Send me an email. I will reach back out to you. It may take me a day or two, but I will respond. And let's get this done. We're going to explain how we're going to get this done, because we're not relying on Congress to do this themselves. We have a better way. So we'll explain that.
Absolutely. And this is Ron Hooper, and I'm part of the Western region. Those are including Alaska, Hawaii. Need some special call out to California, and special call out to Utah, Nevada. Need some help there. So reach out to us. Let us know if you'd like to become more active in those states. We have a great group in Washington and Oregon that's getting ready to develop, in Idaho. So if you're from those states, send us a note. Let us know you're watching today. And you can see my email address. And if you're interested in getting more involved with term limits in your state, then don't be shy. Reach out to me and let me know who you are, and let's talk.
All right. And the first thing I want to cover for everybody out there, if you can see this is what we want you to do. Tell us where you are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight your post on the comments and put it up on the screen. So let's do like a roll call throughout this presentation, this next 30 minutes. Just let us know what state you're in, and feel free to make any comments about why you want term limits. Keep it clean and nice so I can actually show it. And we get some interesting ones, don't we there, Ken, you guys? Oh my God.
Yeah, we definitely get some interesting comments. And what we try to do, and one of the biggest reasons we do this weekly broadcast of this weekly Facebook Live, is to try to explain to folks exactly what we're doing and how. Most people get why, but not everybody does. So we do spend a lot of time on the why, but the how is much more important, because there is, in fact, a process. That process is terribly important when it comes down to how we're going to impose term limits on Congress. Every week we get the same thing. Let's put it on the ballot. Let's vote. Congress will never do it to themselves. And those are valid. People want to be able to get this done, but there's a very specific process. Our founders were very intelligent. They gave us a way to push back against the federal government. The states actually have the authority to do it, and that's what we're going to do. The states are going to do it. We, the people, through the states.
And let's talk about the voting, because I see it all the time. Let the people vote on this. listen, folks, I love the idea. We can't do it that way. This cannot be done by the people voting, because we tried that back in the 1990s, and the Supreme Court in 1995 overturned 23 state laws that placed term limits on their own members of Congress. And I think 21 of those were done by the people at the ballot box. And so we cannot vote for this. The only way this can be done is through Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, and we're going to be getting into that.
Real quick, though, most people don't realize that was us. Thornton versus U.S. term limits. That was our organization that took this to the United States Supreme Court, and it was overturned in a 5-4 decision. A liberal court overturned it and said that the only way to do this is to amend the Constitution. So they threw out the will of what did you say, Quinn? 22 states?
23 total,
23.
and I think 20, I got to fix my camera. I think 21 were voted on by the people.
Yeah, and so they threw out the will of the people and said, you have to amend the Constitution. Okay, well, if that's what we have to do, that's what we will do. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And it's going to take time. It is hard. It is a very tall hill to climb, but it should be. Amending the Constitution is not, it's not something that should be taken lightly. And you need the support of the majority of the American public in order to get it done. Well, guess what? We do. We've got 82% of the American public who want this. That's how we're going to get it done.
And I saw one of the comments about voting people out of office. And I don't know if that's one of the ones that you were talking about, Ken, but yeah, great idea. But we're going to be covering how pretty much that's almost impossible to do today. And
well, we've been trying it that way for 100 years.
Yeah. So what we're going to be sharing with everybody today is, listen, we all need to vote. We need to vote for good people. However, if you think voting people out of office is going to make a difference, you're really mistaken. And so this is why we need to consistently rotate people out on a regular basis. And we're going to show you how we're going to do it. We're going to show you why we're going to do it. And we're going to show you why voting really, it's rigged. The system is rigged against us. And so let's jump right into it, boys. You want to?
You bet.
All right, let me bring back the PowerPoint slide here. So give me 1 second. All right. And all right. So if you see any comments you want me to highlight, please grab my attention, because I'm kind of doing a couple things here on the computer. Okay. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the upcoming elections. This was a screenshot from a couple days ago. So 16 states. Now I live in Maine, and our primary has been pushed back, I think now to July. And I know Wisconsin this week, there was a big fight. The governor tried to stop the primary this Tuesday from happening, but the court overturned it, and they ended up having their primary election. And I think it's going to take about a week for the results to come in. So why I think this is really important and critical is I understand why they're doing it, but my concern is how this is going to affect the challengers running for office. What do you guys think the outcome of this is going to be in some of these states? It
can't help. It can't make it easier for them. I mean, how do they compete and really challenge somebody in this environment?
Well, and the way most people win those races is the old-fashioned way. They walk door to door. They put out signs. They have volunteers walking door to door. You can't do that right now. You can't. The only way you can do it is name recognition through television, radio, Facebook, social media, etc. That's the only way.
Yeah. I think this is going to be very hurtful to the challengers. They're going to have a struggle. I think we're going to see, and we're going to be getting into this information, I think the re-election rate is going to be close to 100% for members of Congress this year because of what's happening with the elections. And it's not going to be good, guys. Not going to be good. Let me just highlight, hey, somebody from West Virginia. Great. Thanks, Ginger. Okay, so let's move on now. Let's talk about one of my favorite. Can you guys see that? I'm going to try to keep the screen down there. Ron, I'm going to hate to cover your face up like that, but
that's right. Like Ken Clark says, I got a face for a radio.
I don't know why. All right. How many times have you heard this? Elections are term limits. Ken, we don't need term limits.
I hear
elections are for.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah, this is one I hear especially from legislators. You know, we got elections. That's your term limits right there. All right.
Yeah, you're taking away the will of the people.
So, oh wow, it's actually snowing outside. All right. It's snowing out. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so if that was true, if elections represent the will of the people, and hey, I love the idea of the consent of the governed, but look at this next slide here. If the approval rating, now this is an average, I think I saw recently the approval rating of a Congress was below 9% at one point.
Right now, today, it's around 8%.
8%. So this is going over decades here. It's always under 25%, which is really low, dipping down to 9%. I think it's been in the teens numerous years. If that's the case, how is it that the re-election rate of members of Congress, the House and Senate, is 96%? Is that reflecting the will of the American people? Of course not. Why is that?
Money.
Yeah.
Name recognition.
The
power of the incumbency is extreme, and most people don't realize that.
Well,
exactly.
The advantages that they have are overwhelming. And then on top of that, as soon as there's a real challenger, somebody that really can stand up and challenge them, the party goes nuts on it. And then, you know, not to discount franking privileges and all the free giveaways that the incumbents have. I mean, who would run against those odds?
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of those. Let me pull up. Okay. So for those of you out there, when I do presentations, going around the states and talking to people, I like to get to this slide. This is from The Matrix, and so this is the scene where I forget the guy's name. He's given an offer to take a red pill or the green pill, a blue pill. And so if you take the blue pill, the problem continues. You wake. So this is somebody that believes elections are term limits. If you take the blue pill, the problem is going to continue. You wake up in bed and continue believing that elections work. Those are our form of term limits. But if you're willing to take the red pill with us today, we're going to go down a little bit of a rabbit trail and show you just how corrupt this system is. And so normally what I do, I'm going to show you right now real quick. When I do this in a group, I've got my Tic Tacs, my blue and red. I ask people, okay, for those of you that want to believe elections are term limits, you come right up, grab your blue pill, and go home, and you just have a great life. We'll wake you up when it's over. No one's ever done that yet, but I have fun with it. So let's really get deep into this. And as Ron was sharing, let's take a look at some of the advantages and why this system is rigged. This is what I like to call the power of the incumbent party. They are the king of the hill, the king of the jungle. And this is not a Republican problem or a Democrat problem. It's a power problem with incumbents. And now we're not going to spend a lot of time on these issues here, but this is just some of the benefits that incumbents have. Ron, you mentioned the Franken Privilege. That's the second one down. For those of you that don't know what that is, that actually began in like 1788. You know, that right out of the gate, the founders, they allowed members of Congress to send mail to their constituents. Well, today, this is all done on our dime. Members of Congress, and you're going to notice this as we're heading closer to the election season here, that you are going to get real nice letters from your member of Congress saying what a great job they're doing for you in Washington, D.C. And this ramps up, it spikes in election years. And this is a free privilege that they have. Now, their challengers don't get that same opportunity. So this franking privilege alone gives the incumbent huge name recognition to all of their constituents. In fact, in Maine, I was getting these from a member of Congress who was even in my district. So that's to show you the wastefulness of this. Not only that, just name recognition alone. You know, how often, especially in this time of year, do you see your legislator on the news, on the radio? You know, they're in the newspaper, you know, over and over again. They have access to all these avenues, which just builds name recognition. So the point, by the time somebody gets to the ballot box, they know that name, they're comfortable with it. They don't know the challenger. They're just gonna automatically choose the incumbent. You know?
You know, nobody pushes back on the term limits applied to the president in the 22nd Amendment. And yet, to me, this is such a puzzlement that people would push back on this. It makes all kinds of sense, especially in self-preservation. If you're trying to look out for yourself, Mr. Voter, I mean, how would you be against this? Unless you're a politician or a bureaucrat, I guess.
Well, it's interesting because they will tell you that they believe, well, it's different for members of Congress than it is for the president. Why? Nobody really has a good explanation for that. And they will tell you, well, the power of the presidency, blah, blah, blah. What about the power of Congress to spend us into debt? I mean, if it's good enough for the executive office, it's good enough for Congress. And there is no rational argument as to why one and not the other.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm having some difficulty with the screen there, so I'm just going to leave it there so we can see each other. The war chest, well, actually, the dialing for dollars, that is something, this blew me away. This was a documentary or expose by 60 Minutes. It's called, just go to YouTube, type in dialing for dollars 60 Minutes, and you'll see how both parties participate in this. They each have their own building. It's like a boiler room, little cubicles with a script, and they're banging out the phone calls. 30 to 70% of their time is raising money. And if you ever watch C-SPAN, ever ask yourself, how come, where are all the members of Congress during this debate? It's because they're at this building during lunchtime, the best time of the day. Their whole schedule is based upon calling hours. And so they become glorified telemarketers raising money for their party. And the kicker is that's how they get the key chairmanships and the key positions. Whoever raises the most money.
That's right.
It's based on all that. And that's
amazing.
Why
do you think Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House? Why do you think Mitch McConnell is the President of the Senate? Because they are capable of raising more money than anyone else.
Yeah, and they call it paying dues. They call it paying their dues.
They're paying all right.
Yeah. And so the next one down is the incumbent war chest. Incumbents have on average 5 times more amount of money for their campaign than the challengers. PAC money. This is huge. 97% of corporate PAC money goes to who? The challenger? Of course not. It goes to the incumbent. Why? Because they own them, right?
You'll see the year before they spent nothing to get reelected, or the term before, and then all of a sudden they get a real serious challenger, and then all the money in the world comes in.
What's also interesting is when you run the first time, most of the money comes from yourself, your friends, or your family.
Exactly.
And you have to finance your own campaign. The moment you get elected, you never have to do that again. Ever. All the money comes to you from PACs, from the dialing for dollars and all that, but you never have to spend your own money. You never have to spend your family's money ever again. So you end up owing people favors.
Yeah,
Why do you think there's so many lobbyists? I mean, the return on investment for a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. is like 900 to 1.
You know what it is? It's 2,200%.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's based on tax benefits they get. Every dollar they spend, they save or make $2,200. It's just unbelievable. And, you know, these folks that say, well, you know, lobbyists don't really influence, it's like, give me a break. In fact, there was a Princeton study, and I know a Harvard professor, Larry Lessig, refers to this quite often. This Princeton study, looking at Congress for a number of years, proved if 80% of Americans want something passed, it doesn't matter. Congress is not going to move the bar for 80% of the American people. If 80% of their funders want something done, that's who they listen to. It doesn't matter what we want. It comes down to the funders. And over we see that. We're seeing it right now during this coronavirus thing, right? They're packing all the special interest they can into the stimulus. People, are you getting mad? You know that video? You know that? What was that TV? The Network, that movie, The Network, where the guy's like, it's time, I'm not going to take it anymore. We're getting to that point. We got to play that. We got to watch that sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, let's move on.
Rather than babbling.
Future job offers, 50%. This is how the lobbyists do it. When they're working with a member of Congress and they're trying to get some special perks by the senator or the rep, say, hey, listen, Joe, when you're done here in Congress, we got a nice gig for you, a nice position for you at our firm. That's how they seal the deal. Now that senator or that rep is going to do whatever that lobbyist wants because they want to land a nice gig to make 10 times more money as a lobbyist. 50% of members of Congress become lobbyists. Remember John Boehner, Speaker Boehner?
Oh, yeah.
He was opposed. He was opposed to marijuana laws while he was Speaker. Well, guess what he is now? He's a lobbyist for the marijuana industry. You gotta love it. Okay, job perks. We're not going to talk about insider trading. That's just the benefit of having the position. We saw how this all plays out. Party protection. Ron, I think you were talking about that. The parties protect the incumbents. I see that all the time.
Yeah, they're not going to let their golden goose get away, and that's important to them. They have a tremendous amount of money invested into those candidates. So when you take a look at that term before, they spent $150,000 to get reelected. This time they spend $5 million. You think, hey, what's going on? What changed? Well, they got a real challenger. And that's why you don't run into real challengers very often, because you can't raise that kind of money from friends and family. I mean, that's, I did a lot of startups, and that's the first round of financing is friends and family. You just can't raise millions of dollars. Well, at least not for my friends and family and most politicians. And so that's kind of what happens. And so you see these big discrepancy in investment. It just should. And it brings in all kinds of other things into question. But there's one thing, and we can't get distracted by this. The parties love getting us talking about the parties or campaign finance or all this other stuff, when the one thing that everybody agrees on, these guys need to be put out of office after so many terms. Everybody agrees with that. And so we just need to just keep focused on term limits. Don't get distracted by this other stuff.
Yeah. And I just wanted to go over this for those people out there that think elections are term limits. They're not. Wake up, America. Nothing is going to change by thinking you're voting somebody out of office. It just doesn't happen. So anyway, all right, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. I'm going to try to change. Okay, there we go. All right, so term limits. I'm going to bring this in a little bit tighter for everyone to see. And okay, can you guys see that? All right, so let's just touch on, okay, we all know why we need term limits, and the framers, in their wisdom, now many of the state constitutions had term limits. They used to call it rotation of office, and Thomas Jefferson was a huge advocate for term limits. And I love this quote by him. He says, to prevent every danger which might arise to American freedom from continuing too long in office, it is earnestly recommended that we set an obligation on the holder of the office to go out after a certain period. Great quote by Jefferson. This one, I've used this in my testimony. I really like this. This is by Robert Yates, one of the federal convention delegates from New York. And he said this, and this really applies today, quote, a rotation in the Senate would also, in my opinion, be of great use. It is now probable that senators once chosen for a state will, as the system now stands, continue in office for life. The office will be honorable, if not lucrative. The persons who occupy it will probably wish to continue in it, and therefore use all their influence and that of their friends to continue in office. Their friends will be numerous and powerful, for they will have it in their power to confer great favors. Besides, it will before long be considered as disgraceful not to be reelected. And then he goes on to say, it will therefore be considered as a matter of delicacy to the character of the senator not to return him again. Everybody acquainted with public affairs knows how difficult it is to remove from office a person who has long been in it. It is seldom done except in cases of gross misconduct.
That was 1788. And think about that last line. It is seldom done except in cases of gross misconduct. 1788. Does that not apply today? The only way you get removed from office is by conviction and or death. And even those that are indicted and convicted still sometimes win again.
Yeah, yes. Death, dementia, or indictment. That's term limits today. But yeah, that is just amazing. It just shows that there is nothing new under the sun, and human nature has not changed in over, 200 years, right?
So why didn't they do this when they had a chance?
Oh, the $86,000. You know, that really frustrates me because the delegates at the convention in 1787, I think on 6 different days, they debated rotation of office. And for some reason, they just decided not to put it in there. And my hunch is this, gentlemen, and I don't want to bring any dishonor among the framers, but many of them had their eyes on the office themselves. And I think over 50, or I don't know the exact number, a number of them became members of the first Congress. So, you know, even at that time they were drafting the Constitution, maybe they were envisioning, hey, I want to get down there. I don't know. That's just speculation. But
well, it's one of those things that doesn't end up at the top of people's list when you think about defense and budget and those kinds of things. And I have a feeling when you remember these guys traveled days and days and days to get there, they had already been there to develop this, and they probably just got tired and thought they'd come back around and get it fixed.
They were quite tired, and so they decided, you know what, let's just wrap this up. And back then
they left a way to amend the Constitution, so maybe they figured it'd get done later.
Yeah, and most of them did not stay in office very long. They held numerous offices, but they would bounce around: governor, rep, senator, you know, even back to the same position. So what I like about, I want to go into this next screenshot here. Okay, when elections fail. Okay. All right, I got to pull this quote up. Okay, if you are watching this right now, folks, elections are going to fail you. I just want you to I want you to understand that. Now, this is where what we are working on comes to play, because this is something that the framers understood. And I want to share 2 quotes with you today that I really like. Okay, this is James Wilson, one of the delegates to the convention. He also was the ratifying delegate in Pennsylvania. And this is what he said, quote, "The Congress may be restrained by the election of its constituent parts. If a legislature shall make a law contrary to the Constitution or oppressive to the people, they have it in their power every 2nd year in one branch and every 6th year in the other to displace the men who act thus inconsistent with their duty. And if this is not sufficient," so what he's saying, if the elections don't solve the problem, and we know they don't, they still have a further power. They may assume into their own hands the alteration of the Constitution itself. Okay. He's talking about amendments, right? Did I lose you guys?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. So he's referring to Article 5. And the last quote here I want to share is James Madison. He says the same thing. And there's 3 ways to control government. And this is what he said, quote, "In the first place, the responsibility which every department feels to the public will, under the forms of the Constitution, they may be expected to prevent the excess incident to conflicts between rival and unresponsible authorities." So what he's saying is this: they should be responsible. You elect them, they should go do the job they're supposed to do and not go beyond their bounds. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, in the next place, if the difference cannot be adjusted by friendly conference and mutual concession, the sense of the constituent body, that's us, the voters, brought into the government through the ordinary elective channels may supply a remedy. Okay, number 2, vote them out, drain the swamp, get better people down there, right? That's what we all think should happen. Well, if that fails, he says this: "And if this resource should fail, there remains in the third and last place that provident article, Article 5, in the Constitution itself, by which an avenue is always opened for the sovereignty of the people for explanations or amendments as they might be found indispensable. And that is what we're talking about. Article 5 for term limits. And I love that.
When you go back, I've been involved in politics for a lot of years, a lot of decades. And when you go back over the course of even the 30 years I've been involved in it, we've seen different parties in power. We've seen split Congress. We've seen president of one party, Congress of another. We've seen the Congress itself split. We've seen one party have total control. We've seen another party have total control. But what changed ever?
Nothing.
No. Republicans always run on the party of fiscal responsibility, right? But did the deficit ever quit growing under Republicans? No.
No.
Did it ever quit growing under Democrats? No. Did anything in Washington, D.C. change regardless of which party was in power that actually benefits we the people? No. Nothing. The spending has gotten out of control. The beast has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and that beast will swallow up the rest of the country. But the people in DC, the dirty little secret is once you get inside the Beltway, there's no such thing as party. They fight each other. That is all a show for we the sheeple so that we think they're actually trying to do something. They're not. They battle each other and they get all upset with each other because there is truly a power struggle. Nancy Pelosi wants to be in power, or Mitch McConnell wants to be in power. There's that kind of power struggle. But at the end of the day, the only color, the only party that matters is the color of green and the party of the greenback. That's the only matter. That's the only thing that matters.
You know, gentlemen, we've watched the popularity. In fact, I have not been in politics as long as either one of you have, and I'm learning from you all the time. But I'm amazed as I watch the growth in my states from people coming in and signing the petition. This is such a popular movement. And hopefully the one thing that you can do is talk to your friends and family, get them to come into our termlimits.com / and sign the petition. That's the leverage that we have to force the states to put these into a resolution for the state. So
well, actually,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's just the beginning. That's how you connect with us. That's how you join the term limit revolution. The next step is get involved. We need you more than just signing the petition. That's great, and share it everywhere you can. We got to grow this thing, and then we need to activate you and put pressure on your state legislators. Now, we're not doing this through Congress, folks. We don't care about Congress. They don't get to vote on this. We are doing this by going around Congress through your state legislatures. And so we need to get it done in your state. And so, yeah, that's what's so great about Article 5. The framers understood this human nature. Ken, what you were talking about, nothing changes, right?
Right.
Human nature doesn't change.
Well, and it's funny because human nature, let's talk about it. Let's be brutally honest. It is human nature to want to accumulate as much wealth and power under your own control as you can, right? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
If we're going to be honest, the human condition is to try to accumulate wealth and power. So why then do we expect these people that we send to Washington, D.C. to act any differently?
Yeah.
We shouldn't. We should make it impossible for them to accomplish it. That's what the Constitution was originally designed to do. That's what term limits will help do as well.
Yeah, and I know there's a great quote by Jefferson. I'll have to pull up sometime. He talks about bind the mischief of man down with the chains of the Constitution. Well, here's a link. Here's a link to that chain. It's called term limits. That's a link we need to help get rid of the corruption. It's not going to end it all, but it's going to really disrupt this power base and redistribute the power from the elite into the hands of the many, the people. And so we've got to get this done. And I'm excited about this. I'm fired up, man. I think I'm seeing the comments. People are getting fired up, and it's good to see everybody out there. So I don't know. I'm getting really, really frustrated seeing what's happening in Congress. We were caught blindsided by this virus. How many years have we seen every year something come along? We should have been prepared for this. What are they doing? The states should have been first prepared. This really should have been stopped at the state level. Every state should have been ready for this. and yet we're all waiting for the federal government to be our hero. Give me a break.
Yeah, well,
I guess we really
started on that.
Yeah, I guess we really do deserve the representation that we elect.
I don't know about that. I don't get me started. We're going down a road.
I'm going to mute Ken for a bit. Wait, I'm going to mute you, Ken, because you can go just let it out and come right back. Give me the thumbs up. I'm sorry. I know. I'll try not to get into the current issue. Anyway, so for those, should I pull up the website? If you are out there, if this is all new to you, let me show you where you can go to help us. So give me 1 second, guys. Oops, I don't have the website up. Are there any comments or questions? Let's take some comments or questions.
Well, let's see. I think we've covered most of them, Ken. I think we're looking pretty good.
There have got to be some questions. Come on, people. Ask us something. No? Come on.
They're getting a little feisty out there a little bit every once in a while. So I want them to, you know, the problem is we're all great. We're great Americans, and we kind of get distracted sometimes. And so I think the important theme is to keep us focused on term limits. It's easy to get distracted with these other little things. And if you really would go to term limits and volunteer, it would be so important.
Oh, yeah, that's what we need. We need everybody to get involved. We cannot do it without you.
Yeah. Let me show folks how to get involved. I'm going to pull this right up real quick. Okay, so here's our website. It's termlimits.com. If you have not signed our petition, please do so. And that will make sure that we make sure you put your email. Well, I think you have to put your email address if you do it online. That's how we communicate with you. And so what Ron, Ken, myself, and others do in this organization is that we will send out calls to action in your state when we have a push for pledges to be signed, a public hearing, a vote. That's how we're going to get this done. And then we need to activate you to take those steps. And typically it's going to be just clicking and sending an email to your senator or rep. And so please sign the petition. Please share it with people on your social media and get this spread around in your state. And then I also want to show you quickly where to go to help. If you want to get more involved, if you go to Take Action, can you guys see that? I can't see it on my screen. Right down to volunteer.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so volunteer for USTL. Click on that. Let us know how you would like to get involved. And there's a lot of different ways. Right now, we're kind of homebound around the country. One excellent way that you can get involved, write letters to the editor. You know, what an awesome way of talking about what we're doing. Try to put our website in that letter to the editor so other people can be directed to it. And just share what we shared with you today. Some of the
Ken, how do people are asking about how they get a copy of the slides that you used? Is there a way that they can do that?
Well, they can watch the video. This is I don't know exactly how I can do that. Send me an email. I'll see what I can do. But
there's all kinds of great videos and stuff, by the way, in our media section. Some of this. And we want to encourage everybody to go over to that area under more. You'll go down and see archives, all kinds of different videos and slides and stuff to support what you've seen today.
Yeah, we have YouTube channel. Please go to our Facebook pages. Let me show you that real quick. If you go to, is it under more social media? Click on social media. If you have not liked, well, you must have liked it because you're watching us on Facebook. So I'm not going to, let me scratch that. We have a store. We don't push the store enough. You know that? There's some cool stuff on our store. We got t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of stuff. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the store right now?
Yep.
Yeah, I can see it.
Can you see that?
Well, it still says volunteer for USTL.
All right. Let me change.
But I think they get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they get the idea.
Okay. I don't want to belabor that.
We spend all day going over this website. It's there. Use the drop-down boxes. You can navigate it.
All right, everybody. I want to thank you for your time. I'm done. I've shared all I wanted to say, and I appreciate everyone out there. Help us. Stay safe. we're going to get through this. We want to just thank all of the people on the front lines that are doing what they can to help folks in the hospital with this coronavirus. And just we're going to get through this. I'm being positive. I think we'll get through this fairly quickly, and we'll be back stronger than ever. And I think with a resolve that a lot of things are going to change for the better, starting with the states.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. Thank you for joining us today, everybody, and get in touch with us. We are here to help you, and we cannot do this without you. So please get in touch with us. That's what we're here for.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.